Howdy folks, welcome back to Melanson Creek Farm. In this video I wanted to show you how I'm planting for my garden this spring. And what I have pulled up here is a Google Doc that I'm using on my iPad. And I'm using the screen record feature on my iPad with the microphone. So first time I ever done this, so hope all this goes well and y'all can kind of see what I'm looking at here. And I'm gonna zoom in here in just a minute and kind of get down to where it's a little closer. But I've got it zoomed out here where everything's laid out and you can see it all together. But this is just it's a grid pattern that I found online, how to set up a spreadsheet that tells you the height and the width of each cell in order for it to basically be like a square. And what I'm using each little square for is about a foot, but this is by no means to scale, but it kind of gives me an idea and helps me to plan out my garden and how I want it to look this year. You can see down here at the bottom I'm on my spring 2025 tab. I've got a lot of other tabs that I'm using down here as well. So let me zoom in here and show you. I'm going to start over here. I've got my beds numbered 1, 2, all the way up to, I think, I don't know, what is it, 15? Yeah, 15, thereabout. So probably making you dizzy scrolling around on my screen here. But beds 1 and 2, you can see that I've got some zinnia, rosemary, thyme, and cosmos, and elysium. Now this is what I'm going to be planting on those pallet planters that I have hanging on the side of the building, on each side of the door there. And they're sectioned off into like 4 different sections, and then there's a divider board going up through the middle. So you've got like what 2, 4, 6, 8 different pots, if you will, in each planter, and I've got 4 of those hanging on the wall. So this is kind of going to be like a pollinator type garden with some herbs in it as well. And in the 2 raised beds right underneath, I'm going to go back in with lettuce and spinach, just like I did the year before. But the flowers and the herbs that I've got planted here, how did I come up with what I'm going to plant where? So if I can figure out how to, oh, there we go, get back down here to my tabs and I'll show you how I come up with this. So here I'm in my companion planting tab, and there's a lot of information out there online for companion planting charts, and I strongly recommend that you get one of those if you're going to be planting herbs and flowers and vegetables all together, because there's certain ones that do get along with each other, but then there's ones you kind of got to be careful about. They don't get along well. So this is just a bunch that I compiled, a bunch of different information for what is going in my garden. And this one here is specifically for vegetables. I've got another tab for the others, and I'll show you here in a minute. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so you can see a little bit better, hopefully. So we got the type of vegetables, the friends of those vegetables, the enemies of those vegetables, any special notes, the temperature of the soil when you want to plant it, how many days till germination, how many days to harvest, and whether you want to start it by seed or if you want to direct seed it. Now there's some that you can do both. You can start it by seed and you can direct seed it, and then there's some that you definitely want to direct seed, kind of like corn and okra and beans. You know, you want to direct seed those. So for an example, let's go down to our lettuce column here. Column B was the friends of lettuce. So your cabbages, your peas, your radishes, tomatoes, strawberries, all of that gets along with lettuce particularly. But then really didn't find any enemies of the lettuce. And then this next one, any special notes. If we go down to where I have spinach, and you can see that again, it's basically the same thing as what was for the lettuce. Not really any enemies or any special notes. So those are some of the flowers that I wanted to plant with those. But as we go through the garden, I can come back and reference this and show you what I was thinking and why I planted certain things. All right, so also down here, the next tab that I have is for herbs. Now, this is one that is kind of the same thing. It's the companion of what that herb is, and then any special notes about that particular herb. Like for basil, uh, good companions. Let me try to zoom in again. I don't want to make this too small on you to where you can't read it good. Uh, Companions: apples, asparagus, beans, grapes, onions, parsley, peppers, potatoes, and tomatoes. All of those go good with basil. Special notes: improves the health and flavor of nearby herbs and vegetables as well. And then it repels flies and mosquitoes. So that's good to know. And then the next tab that I have is for flowers. So again, same type of thought here for the flowers. Um, you have the flower, the companion, and then special notes for that. So like down here at verbena, uh, a good companion for verbena is basil, beans, dill, cilantro, garlic, and tomatoes. Um, some special notes on the verbena: attracts pollinators and pests. It's long blooming. It is deer and rabbit resistant, so good to know. It's low maintenance. I like that. And vervain, it can be dried out and used uh, in medicinal herbs for teas. And it's known for an anti inflammatory and for treating anxiety. But use in moderation because too much is going to give you a stomach ache. So, good to know. Um, so, anyway, that's what I did here, and that's how I decided what herbs and what flowers and what vegetables I wanted to plant together. So, all right, let's go back over here to our garden. And moving right along, we had went through the planters, and now we're over here around the greenhouse, which is right here. And what we're going to be planting around the first side of the greenhouse, I called that bed 3, and we're going to be doing dill, and then more lettuce, onions, carrots. Marigolds will be our companion flower, and hot peppers. And if we go back and let's look at marigolds, you can see that they go well with basil, taters, tomatoes, beans, corn, cucumbers, onions, strawberries, squash, melons, roses, and then marigolds is a staple for your garden. If you're going to be doing any companion planting, marigolds are something that you definitely want in your garden. So, because they're a pollinator, they attract the beneficial, the predatory type, the ladybugs, lacewings, hoverflies, those types of predatory type of insects, slugs. Uh, can be a pest to it, so you have to watch out for that. It deters aphids, beetles, corn earworms. The scent deters rabbits. It releases chemicals in the ground that repels nematodes. And you need it in full sun for the full blooms. And yes, it is edible as well. So marigolds go really well with a lot of your vegetables in your garden. All right, so moving along to the other side again, we're going to be doing more hot peppers. Again, marigolds, chives, more onions, lettuce, and then we're going to do some cilantro as an herb companion for those beds. Now, as we go around back here to our tater beds, the sweet potatoes and the regular potatoes, white potatoes, whatever you want to call them, we're going to keep those two boxes. We're going to make some modifications to them. We're going to do some upgrades to those, but we're keeping them. And then here in our next bed, moving on down, we're going to the new expanded beds that we just built. We had these beds here last season, last year, and then we just expanded them to 4 foot. And looking forward to planting a lot of companions in those. So the main crop for this bed is going to be corn, and then we're going to go in with some of our rattlesnake pole beans, and companions for this bed is going to be sunflowers and verbena. And the next bed we come to is our okra bed, and in our okra bed we're going to be planting bell peppers. Those are two companion crops. There's not a whole lot of things that don't get along with okra. You can just plant it with just about anything. But you need to be careful because it does have some really deep roots. If you know, you know, and if you don't, I'll see if I can find that picture of when I was digging these things up and put it in here. Because when I was digging those things up, it looked like it had a taproot as big as a white oak tree. So you got to be careful with what you plant around okra. And for the companion flowers, Elysium and lavender in this bed. All right, our next bed we're going to be doing cucumbers and broccoli, and then we're going to go in with some dill, nasturtiums, marigolds, and rosemary. Nasturtiums is another very interesting flower. If I will, for just a minute, let's go back and look at nasturtiums. There's something very interesting with nasturtiums here. So, companions: broccoli, cabbages, cucumbers, pumpkins, squash, taters, tomatoes, zucchini, and it attracts beneficial pollinators, predatory insects. It deters certain ones. It's a trap crop, what they call a trap crop, to bring in pests to those instead of the vegetables that you've got them planted with. It needs full sun for full bloom, and it's edible. It has a mild peppery flavor. It's packed with vitamin C. It contains manganese, iron, flavonoids, vitamins B1, B2, B3, calcium, beta carotene, and it can be used for medicinal purposes as an expectorant or disinfectant. So, nasturtium's a very interesting flower there, herb, flower, both. So, just wanted to point that out. All right, let me zoom back in here. We had got down to, all right, the next bed we're going to come to is going to be our greasy beans, another green bean, pole bean that we're going to be planting along with corn. Corn and green beans, they just go hand in hand. They're real good companion crops. You can plant the climbing beans right there with the corn, and they'll just climb right up the corn stalks. But green beans, they're what they call a nitrogen fixer. So they release nitrogen and encourage it in the soil, and we know that corn loves that nitrogen. So good companion crops there. We're going to go in with some zinnias as our companion flower. We're going to keep our melon patch again for this year. I kind of like the way it's laid out there. Might do us a little something different with the planting this year, but we're going to be growing the watermelons and the cantaloupes in here, and then we're going to go in with some catnip, dill, Elysium, butterfly weed, and we're going to go back in with some more nasturtiums in that bed. All right, as we're moving on down to these last four, the lower four beds here on the end, down the hill, we're going to be planting our strawberries in this first bed. We had those in those pallet planters that I had first started talking about that were back here on the building. These up here that we're going to be planting our flowers and some herbs in, but we're moving those out of those planters this year. I just don't think they had quite enough sun on that northeast facing wall, and it just really hurt the production of the strawberries last year. So we're going to move them out, get them in this open bed. But by doing that, now of course they're going to be more susceptible to pests. So whether they be bugs or critters or whatever may be the case, you gotta protect them. So you need to be planting those types of companion flowers and herbs to deter those pests. Sage is definitely one that's a very strong odor, and marigolds again give off that odor. Basil, thyme, some real strong herbs that'll help deter some of those pests. And I did hear where somebody had used some rocks and they painted them red, and then they put little dots on them, and then they put them out there with their strawberries. And when the birds would come, they would peck the rock and realize, hey man, that ain't no strawberry. And I don't know, maybe deter them from wanting to eat their strawberries. I don't know if it worked. I think it sounded interesting. I don't know if it worked, but anyway, moving on down, the next bed's going to be our squash. And by squash, I mean summer squash, the yellow squash, crookneck, straight neck, and all that. We're going to be planting a bed of that. We're going to go in with marigolds and oregano for our companions. And the next bed, zucchini. And then there's people that say, well, zucchini and squash, I mean, there's not that big of a difference. Well, to us it is. We like certain things with squash and we like certain things with zucchini. I like stir fries. I like zucchini with that. We like making zucchini lasagna. We take and cut it in strips, and instead of doing noodles, we do the zucchini noodles. So, and then there's things we like the squash for. So we're planting both. Now here in the zucchini bed, we're going with some nasturtiums again and zinnias for the companions. And our last but not least bed is going to be our tomato bed. Now, we didn't plant any tomatoes last year. I'm not a big tomato eater, but I'm going to be growing some San Marzanos this year, and we're going to be making some sauces with those. So that's mainly what we're going to be going in with, and there's a lot of good companion crops and flowers and herbs that you can plant with your tomatoes. So we're going to go in with basil. We read that earlier. It enhances the flavor of a lot of your other herbs and tomatoes. Also rosemary, oregano, all of those. We're going to keep it in the Italian family, if you will. But and then we're going to have some peppers in there, and that's probably going to be our bell peppers. We're going to go in with the hot peppers up around the greenhouse, and we got some other varieties. I think we got some shishitos, and I got some other seeds from a friend at work that we're going to be planting up there. But here down with the tomatoes, it'll probably be just the green, orange, yellow bell peppers, and the companion flower is going to be the verbena. All right, so that's our plan for this year, for this spring planting season. Zoom back out here a little bit so you can kind of get an overview of what it is. And I've really never planned my garden like this before. I've always just kind of had a thought of how I wanted to do it in my head and maybe jotted some notes down or something like that. But I wanted to get it down on paper, if you will. That way I could get all my thoughts down and what I wanted to plant with what, and get a good companion planting together, and make sure I know how many seeds I need to start for certain flowers or herbs. And of course, I went way overboard with my seed starting, but that's okay. I've got plenty that I can share with friends and family. So, anyway, if you got any questions, leave me a comment down below. If you got any suggestions, some other types of companion planting that you do, that you might suggest for me to add to our garden, please leave me a message down below. I'm by no means any expert on gardening or anything like that, but I have a passion for it, and I'm actually looking at getting my Master Gardener certification this year. So hopefully, once that happens, I can share even more beneficial information with you folks. So looking forward to that. But yeah, if you got any suggestions or concerns about what I got going on here, drop me a comment below. Let me know what you're thinking, how it's looking, and we'll see you the next time. Y'all take care.